students. So we'll begin with the first topic on the course line. Revisited. Then you have sentence elements. And then you have sentence types. Those are things that we'll look at today. Sentence construction revisited. Then you have sentence elements and sentence types. So the emphasis on this topic is because it is important for you to know how to construct a sentence as speakers of English. You need to know when you have made a fully fleshed sentence. Because the sentence is a unit of thought. Whatever message you want to send across, it begins with a sentence, with one sentence, then another, then another. Whatever message you want to pass to someone in speech or in writing, you will need to communicate using complete ideas. And so your ability to make a correct sentence is the first step in your success as a communicator. If you cannot make a complete sentence, grammatically correct sentence, then you won't be able to pass on information. That is because your information or your ideas will be full of noise. Because you speak and then people don't listen to what you're saying, but they pay attention to the mistakes, they pay attention to the errors that you made. So instead of them getting the message, they are rather trying to correct you in their mind. So it's important to pay attention to lessons like this. So we'll begin by defining the sentence. And you should note that the sentence has several definitions depending on who is defining the sentence and the person's ideological posturing, what the person believes in, or who the person is, what is the person's area of specialization in language would determine how the person defines sentence. For instance, if you are paying attention to the mechanics and punctuation of the language, if you are paying attention to the mechanics and punctuation of the language, you will likely define the sentence as an expression that begins with a capital letter and ends with a full stop. You will likely define the sentence as an expression that begins with a capital letter and ends with a full stop. However, sentences don't always have to end with a full stop. It depends on the type of sentence. But the emphasis is that you cannot write a noise-free sentence. You cannot write an error-free error-free sentence without paying attention to what? To the mechanics, the punctuation of the language. You cannot write a noise-free sentence. You cannot write an error-free sentence without paying attention to what? To the punctuation, and to the mechanics of the language. So a sentence to somebody conscious of the punctuation and the mechanics of the English language will be an expression, excuse me, an utterance that begins with a capital letter and ends with a full stop. Telling you that each time, the emphasis that each time you want to make a sentence, you have to start your sentence with a capital letter. This makes you to avoid some of the common errors that people make, that students make while writing essays. How can you begin a sentence with a small letter? How can you begin a sentence with a small letter? How can you get to the end of the sentence and you don't put a full stop? All right? So as I have said, that definition makes you conscious of the need to properly punctuate your sentences. But sentences don't have to end with full stop all the time. There are other terminal marks depending on what you are saying, depending on the type of sentence. We have another terminal mark, another punctuation mark that you can use to end the sentence is the question mark, and that is if the sentence is a query. If the sentence is a question, as an interrogative sentence. Where are you? How are you? That one will not end with full stop. If you end it with full stop, then it is wrong. You've not punctuated that sentence correctly. It has to end with what? With a question mark. How are you? Where are you? Have you resumed? Those are questions. So the terminal mark is different from statements. If you make statements, then you need to end it with full stop. If it's a question, then the terminal mark has to be what? Question sign. Please, always, this has to be in your consciousness. You must have this in your consciousness because not paying attention to the minutest of these rules can spell doom for your sentence. Can make people look at you as if you don't know what you're doing. So if you're asking a question and you get to the end of the sentence, you end it with a question mark. If you are making a statement and you get to the end of the sentence, you end it with a full stop. Now that terminal mark is exclamation sign. Exclamation mark. Another terminal mark is the exclamation mark, exclamation sign. Used when you are expressing emotion. Could be joy, could be excitement, could be anger. So if your statement is an exclamatory sentence, when you get to the end, you are not going to use any other terminal mark except the exclamation mark. Okay? So we can then say that a sentence should begin with a capital letter and ends with the appropriate terminal mark. A sentence should begin with a capital letter and end with the appropriate terminal mark. So that definition emphasizes the need for us to properly punctuate our sentences. We should properly punctuate our sentences, including dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Dotting the I's and crossing the T's has become a metaphor for reading through your essay to ensure that there are no mistakes. But if we take it literally, it means that whenever you write I in a sentence, you have to add the dot on top, except where the I refers to you as a person. In that case, wherever that I appears in a sentence, it has to be in capital letter. You don't dot it. Like, I went to the market. I told my mom that I was going to the market. That I, wherever it appears in the sentence, should be in capital letter. Should be written in capital, because it refers to you as a person. You don't have to dot that one. In the last essay that you wrote, I saw people dotting that I. It is wrong. You can dot the other I, but when they refer to, when it is the first person pronoun, you should not dot it. All right? But if you find it, if it is the I in, I-N, you have to dot it. Okay? I in tin, T-I-N, you have to dot it. But when it refers to you, don't dot it. Always write it in capital letters. Okay, so we have emphasized that enough. Then another way to look at a sentence is an expression that is made up of a subject and a predicate. The sentence is an expression that is made up of a subject and a predicate. That definition emphasizes the two major parts of a sentence. That definition emphasizes the two major parts of a sentence. An expression that is made up of a subject and a predicate. So the sentence usually has two broad parts. You have the subject part, then you have the predicate. You have the subject, and then you have the predicate. Okay? So for you to have a sentence, these two parts have to be present. So the subject can be a noun or a pronoun. The subject can be a noun or a pronoun that, one, refers to what the sentence is all about, or two, the person who carries out the action in the sentence. Let me take it again. The subject can be a noun or a pronoun or a nominal that refers to, one, what the sentence is all about. Two, that which performs the action in the sentence. So the subject can be that which the sentence is all about. And two, the performer of the action in the sentence. I will give you an instance. Write down these two sentences. Write down these two sentences. One, Shegun is my brother. Shegun is my brother. Shegun is my brother. Two, Shegun scored the goal. Shegun scored the goal. One, Shegun is my brother. Two, Shegun scored the goal. Now, in the first sentence, underline is. In the second sentence, underline scored. Now, in the first sentence, Segun is what the sentence is all about. Segun is the subject of sentence 1 and sentence 2, right? Segun is the subject of sentence 1 and sentence 2. But in sentence 1, Segun is what the sentence is all about. In sentence 2, Segun is the performer of the action. And what is the action in sentence 2? Scored. So that is the difference. So the subject of the sentence can be that which the sentence is all about, or can be that which performs the action in the sentence. So the reason why we cannot say that Segun is the performer of the action in sentence 1 is because there's no action in sentence 1. Have you seen that? There's really no action in sentence 1 because the verb is a stative verb. It's not a verb of action. It's a stative verb. But in sentence 2, the verb is an action word. Okay? Scored. So is just stating who Segun is. But in sentence 2, you have an action there in score. Now, so we have identified Segun as the subject of sentence 1 and sentence 2. The predicate begins from the verb till the end of the sentence. So if you want to label those two sentences, after labeling Segun as the subject, the rest of the sentence is what? Predicate. Because I've already said that if you define a sentence as a group of words made up of a subject and a predicate, that means we are talking about the two broad parts of a sentence. All sentences, it is believed, can be divided into these two parts, the subject and the predicate. And let me give you a hint. The hint is that the predicate begins from the verb to the end of the sentence. The predicate begins from where the verb is. The predicate is where the verb begins to the end of the sentence. The predicate is where the verb begins to the end of the sentence. Okay, let me give you another sentence and you identify the subject and the predicate. Edith and Bola went home in the rain. Edith and Bola went home in the rain. You can write it down. Edith and Bola went home in the rain. So you see that Edith has to begin with, the sentence has to begin with a capital letter E, where you are writing Edith. And when you get to rain, you add full stop to show that the sentence has ended, right? Don't always forget this. You start now and practice it so that it will be a part of you. Now, where is the subject? Somebody should tell us the subject of the sentence. Huh? Somebody who knows the road. Somebody who knows road. Somebody who knows the way should tell us. You raise your hand and you tell us. Somebody who knows the answer should tell us. Which one is the subject? Yes? What's your name? I was a Konosor. Edith and Bola are subjects. Very good. Very good. So, and then what is the predicate? Went home in the rain. Beautiful. So we are done with that definition. And then another definition that we want to look at is that the sentence is a group of words. A group of words that contains a subject and a predicate and makes complete sense. And makes complete sense. So this is the excuse me. It is not an acceptable expression. So it's better to say in the rain. Okay? Except you want to be poetic. You want to be poetic, you want to be figurative. Like people always say, under the sun. It's possible because of poetry, literary language. But we are basically talking about grammar here. And so we try to stick to the rule of the language. So when some in the rain should be more proper expression. Okay, so you can define a sentence as a group of words that contains a subject and a predicate and makes complete sense. Now, what we have introduced here is complete thought or complete sense, right? What we have introduced here is complete thought and complete sense. So it does not only stop at the sentence containing subject and predicates. The most important feature of a sentence when you are defining a sentence is to include the idea that it must do what? It must make complete sense. It must make a complete sense. It must make a complete sense. The sentence must make a complete sense. Must have a complete thought. So this is usually to differentiate between fragments and fully formed sentences. To differentiate between fragments and fully formed sentences. Because as a student of English, as somebody, a speaker of English, you are not expected to speak in fragments. A fragment is a sentence that does not have complete thought, even though it might have a subject and a predicate. Write down these two expressions. One, when Peter got home. When Peter got home. 2, he saw a black snake in the room. 2, he saw a black snake in the room. 2, he saw a black snake in the room. 1, when Peter got home. 2, he saw a black snake in the room. Now, if you take sentence 1 on its own, you'll see that it is a fragment. All right? It is a fragment because though it contains subject and a predicate, it does not make complete sense. It does not make a complete thought. So I could come before you and say, when Peter got home, and you'll be waiting, and I've not said anything again. When Peter got home, you'll be like, what happened? And I said, when Peter got home. All right? You'll be angry, right? Because I've not made a complete sentence. I've not made a complete thought. My thought is not complete. Okay? I'll just be leaving you hanging. So that statement 1 there is an instance of fragment. It's a fragment. Okay? Because it does not have a complete thought. So what we are saying is that you as a student of the language, you as a speaker of the language should know when someone has made a complete thought in the language. Now take sentence 2. Look at sentence 2. Look at sentence 2. He saw what? Black snake. Is that a complete thought? Yes, that is a complete thought. That is a complete thought. So that is a complete sentence. That is a sentence, in fact, because it makes complete sense. It makes sense. It has meaning compared to the first one. Okay? So the first expression can only make sense if we attach it to the second one. The first expression can only make sense when we attach it to the second one. Who can help us to attach it to the second one? You say, when Peter got home, he saw snake. So you can write sentence 3 now and join the two. Sentence 3, when Peter got home, comma, he saw a black snake. Full stop. So sentence 3 has picked up sentence 1 and added to sentence 2 to transform it, because sentence 1 is helpless without sentence 2. So because sentence 1 cannot make a complete sense, we call it a dependent clause. We call it a dependent clause. Because sentence 1 cannot make a complete sense, we call it a dependent clause. We can call it subordinate clause. But because sentence 2 can make a complete sense, we call it independent clause or main clause. And so when you get to sentence 3, you have a combination of a dependent and independent clauses. That's how we write sentences. That's how we transform sentences. Okay? Now let us look at sentence elements. Sentence elements. Sentence elements. Sentence elements are the building blocks of sentences. Sentence elements are the building blocks of sentences. They are the things that you have to construct your sentence. Sentence elements are used to construct sentences, are used to build sentences. They are the building blocks of sentences. They are the constituents of sentences. They come together to make up a sentence. You use them to build a sentence. Sentence elements are the constituents of a sentence, the linguistic blocks that come together to construct a sentence. These are sentence elements. And we have 5 elements of the sentence. We have 5 elements of the sentence. How many elements of the sentence do we have? 5 elements of the sentence. You must not forget that. 5 elements of the sentence. And they are subject, verb, complement, object, and adjunct. Subject, verb, object, complement, adjunct. Subject, verb, object, complement, adjunct. Adjunct is spelled A-D-J-U-N-C-T. A-D-J-U-N-C-T, adjunct. The 5 elements of the sentence are subject, verb, object, complement, and adjunct. So let us start with the subject. Let us start with the subject. The subject of a sentence. The subject of a sentence can be a noun, a pronoun, or a nominal. The subject of a sentence can be a noun, a pronoun, or a nominal. Can be a noun like Edith, all right? Peter, house, bus, car. Can be a pronoun like he, she, it, they. Can be a nominal. Nominal, N-O-M-I-N-A-L. Nominal. A nominal is a group of words that performs the function of a noun. You can write it down so that you don't forget. A nominal is a group of words that performs the function of a noun. In other words, while a noun is a single word, a nominal is more than one word, 2 or more words doing the work of a noun, occupying the structure of a noun, is a nominal. For instance, let me give you an example of a noun and nominal. We can say car, C-A-R, car. That's a noun because it's one word, right? But when you say a car, or the car, that is a nominal because you're combining an indefinite article with a noun. That becomes a nominal. Or even if you said the car, our car, the black car, the blue car, all of them still refer to the car, so it's a nominal because it's more than one word referring to the noun. So take note of that. So it's the subject of a sentence. The subject of a sentence can be a noun, a pronoun, or a nominal. Which performs the action in an expression, or which forms the subject of the expression. It can be that which the sentence refers to, or that which performs the action in the sentence. I've already said that. Let's look at the verb. The verb. The verb is usually defined as the action word. The verb is usually defined as the action word. The verb is usually defined as the action word, a word of action. But these are dynamic verbs. These are dynamic verbs, which are verbs of action. These are dynamic verbs, which are verbs of action. We have other verbs that do not necessarily perform actions. We have other verbs that do not necessarily perform action. We call them stative verbs. Stative verb, S-T-A-T-I-V-E. S-T-A-T-I-V-E, stative verbs. So you have dynamic verbs. You have dynamic verbs like go, kick, sit, write, paint, run. And then we have stative verbs like is, are, were. Because they do not state, they do not do any action, they do not perform any action. I think that those at the back who really want to listen to the class could come to the front like this. All right. So the verb is very important in any sentence because without the verb, the sentence lacks meaning. In fact, of all the elements of the sentence, the verb is the compulsory element. The only compulsory element of the sentence is the verb. Please take note of that. The verb is the compulsory element of the sentence, the only compulsory element of the sentence, in case you're asked. The verb is the only compulsory element of the sentence. So you will notice that when you are writing the element of the sentence, you write S for subject, V for verb, O for object, C for complement, and A for adjunct. Now, all of these are usually written like this. What have you noticed in that representation? What have you noticed in that representation? Have you noticed anything different? What is that? V is not in brackets. Beautiful observation. Why? Because it is the compulsory element, the only compulsory element of the sentence. So if you are given that diagram in an exam and they ask you the reason, that is the reason. Because the verb is a compulsory element. The others are optional, right? The others are optional, but the verb is compulsory. So that's why I began by saying that the verb is very important in every sentence because it is a compulsory element of a sentence. Okay? So we also have Main verbs and auxiliary verbs. 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 Main verbs are dynamic verbs, but they are called main verbs because they can stand alone in an expression. They can stand alone in an expression. They are called main verbs but because they are capable of independent existence in an expression. That's why they are called main verbs. They are capable of independent existence. They can stand alone in a sentence. They are dynamic verbs because they perform actions, but the reason they are called main verbs is because they can stand alone in an expression. Then the opposite is auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb. A-U-X-I-L-I-A-R-Y. Auxiliary verbs. They are also called supporting verbs. Supporting verbs. They are used to support the main verbs when they inflect for something in an expression. Mostly auxiliary verbs are seen to be incapable of talking about action unless they are used with the main verb. Auxiliary verbs cannot talk about action unless they are used with the main verb. So we have primary auxiliary verbs. Primary auxiliary verbs. We have primary auxiliary verbs. And then we have modal auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs. Modal. Primary. We have primary auxiliary verbs. And we have modal auxiliary verbs. The difference between primary auxiliary verbs and modal auxiliary verbs is that while primary auxiliary verbs can inflect for time and number, modal auxiliary verbs can only inflect for time and not number. I'll tell that again. The difference between primary auxiliary verbs and modal auxiliary verbs is that while primary auxiliary verbs can inflect for time and number, modal auxiliary verbs can only inflect for time, not number. Primary auxiliary verbs can inflect for time and number. Modal auxiliary verbs can only inflect for time and not what? Not number. And what does time mean in English? What does time mean in English? When we say time in English, what do we refer to? Past tense and present tense. When you say time in English, we are referring to past tense and present tense. In fact, tense means time. And what does number mean in English? Singular and plural. Very good. Very good. So examples of primary auxiliary verbs are is, are, was, were. Has, have, is, are, was, were, has, have, had. Right? Examples of primary auxiliary verbs are is, are, was, were, has, have, had. Okay? Now let us start with is. Is singular and present tense. Is singular and what? Present tense. Is singular in terms of number. In terms of time, it is present tense. Are is plural in terms of number, and in terms of time, it is present tense. Are is plural in terms of number, in terms of time, it is present tense. Was is singular in terms of number. Was, W-A-S, was is singular in terms of number. And in terms of time, it is past tense. Right? Then were, W-E-R-E, were, is plural in terms of number, and in terms of time, it is past tense. Has, H-A-S, has, is singular in terms of number. Has is singular in terms of number. Right? And has is singular in terms of number, and in terms of time, it is present tense. Have, H-A-V-E, H-A-V-E is plural in terms of number and present in terms of time. Had is past tense. It has no number inflection. That's the past tense of have and has. The past tense of have and has is what? Had. Okay? So knowing this will allow you to know how to construct your expression. For instance, when you say the bus has left, not the bus have left. Okay? The bus. So you already know within yourself which to choose. Because you know that the bus is singular, right? The bus is singular, so you have to choose this. This is singular, right? But if you say the buses will be this. Because this is plural, right? This is plural. So it will go with the buses. But the bus, singular, will go with this, singular. So you know how to, knowing these things will help you to know how to construct your sentence. Not the bus have left. So we just look at you and wonder whether you went to school. Right? So it begins with expressions like Okon is a boy, where Okon is a singular subject and is a singular verb. Okon and Peter are boys. Because you have Okon and then you have Peter. We're talking about two people. And so are. And then you now move to the next one. Okon was there. Peter was there. But Peter and Okon were there. Because you cannot say Peter and Okon was there. The verb was will not agree with plural subject. Because Okon and Peter are plural subjects. So you cannot say Okon and Peter was there. Whereas that was a singular, you cannot use it with plural subject. So it will be were. Okon and Peter were there. So it's important you know these things. Now let us use I for all those primary auxiliary verbs that we talked about. I. All right? I am. Okay? I have. I was. I had. Okay? That's how it inflects. Let us use he. Let us use he. He is. He was. He has. You can't say he have. It will not go because it's singular. He had. So you can do the same thing with she. Okay, let us use they. They. Do we say they is? They are, right? They have. They were. Not they was. And they had. They were there. Now let's just look at modal auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs. Modal auxiliary verbs inflect for time only. They don't inflect for number, they inflect for time only. Examples are can, 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 can. The past tense is could, could, could. C-O-U-L-D, could. Will, will. The past tense is would. Will, W-I-L-L. The past tense is would, W-O-U-L-D. Shall, should, shall, should, shall, should. Shall, S-H-A-L-L, should, S-H-O-U-L-D, right? Should. May, might, may, might, may, might, may, might, may, M-A-Y, might, M-I-G-H-T. Okay? So those are some of the examples of the modal auxiliary verbs And you can, as you can see, they don't inflect for number, but they inflect for time. They don't inflect for number, they inflect for time. They can be used to make requests. Could you please pass the salt? 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 Not pass the salt. Bring me that salt. Give me that salt. You are impolite, you are rude. Could you please pass the salt? All right? That's how civilized people speak English. It's a polite request. That's what, yes, so you anyway, terminal map. It's a polite request. I said they could be used to make polite requests. You can make requests, but not all requests are polite. May I come in, sir? 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 Right? May I come in, sir? Not, I want to come in. I want to come in. All right? May I come in? You are not even allowed to say, can I come in? The correct thing is, may I come in? So people usually come to the office and say, I want to sign my course form. So in the university, you have to learn how to make polite requests. You have to learn how to make polite requests. Could you please sign my course form, sir? Could you please sign my course form, sir? Not, I want to sign my course form. Then you go ahead and sign. All right? That's how to make polite requests. When you want to ask someone for something, remember to check yourself whether you're using a polite language, whether you're making a polite request or a rude one. So take note of that. Another level of discussion about verbs that I want you to note is the existence of finite and non-finite verbs. The existence of finite and non-finite verbs. So you should note that each of those auxiliaries have their functions, but I've only emphasized the polite request, which I've noticed to be very bad among students. You can use them for other things, like warning. You know, you can use may to do warning. Vehicles weighing 15 tons may not cross this bridge. That's a warning. Vehicles weighing 15 tons may not cross this bridge. It's not polite request, it's a warning. If you cross the bridge might collapse on you. It's a polite warning. So you go to your textbooks and check how to use those. They are very delicate words, those modal auxiliary verbs. All right? If somebody says you may not sit on the chair, it's a warning not to sit there. It's a polite warning. Because you don't know whether when you sit there you will disappear. Right? Maybe that you just sit on the chair and you disappear. So the person is politely warning you, you may not sit on that chair. You may not take that road. All right? And then we use will to express the future. We also use will to make promises. I will be there. I will attend the event. That's a promise. Okay? I will graduate next year. That's future. So if they give you a sentence in an examination and they tell you, what does this sentence express? You need to look at the sentence. Okay? Somebody says, I will be there. That's a promise. Right? Somebody says, I will graduate next year. That's expression of future. And then shall is not used to express future again. In contemporary English, we do not use shall to talk about the future again. It is used to state a fact, especially in law. The president shall be the commander of the armed forces. It's not something that will happen in the future. It's already there. It's a fact. It's a law. So you need to understand English up to this level. Finite and non-finite verbs. Finite and non-finite verbs. A finite verb shows time and number. A finite verb shows time and number. By virtue of how it is used in the sentence, it shows time and number. But a non-finite verb does not inflect for time and number. A non-finite verb does not inflect for time and number. So, if you have the expression, if you have an expression, Peter has a car. Peter has a car. Or Peter owns a car. Let's just use Peter owns a car. Peter owns a car. Peter bought a car yesterday. Peter bought a car yesterday. Now the verb in the expression is owns, then bought. Now, those verbs are finite verbs because they show time and number. Owns is singular and present at the same time. Bought is past tense, so they are finite verbs. Non-finite verbs do not show time and number, and they manifest in three ways. They manifest in three ways. One, as as bare infinitives, non-finite verbs can come as bare infinitives to infinitives. That means that they can come as an infinitive verbs. All right? Where you have bare and to infinitives, and then they can also come as gerunds. 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 Bare infinitives usually come after modal auxiliary verbs. Bare infinitives usually come after modal auxiliary verbs. If you say, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, that do that comes after can is a bare infinitive because it does not show time and number by virtue of how it is used in that sentence. I can do it, you underline do in I can do it. That do is a bare infinitive because it does not show time and number. And then we have to infinitive. You have to infinitive. That one, to infinitive comes after to, that's to, after the preposition to. All right? It comes after to. To infinitives comes after to. It's as simple as that. You write to, then you write a main verb after that. You have to infinitive. So you can say to live, to die, to sleep, to read, to study, to run, to eat. Once you combine to and a verb, you have what? To infinitive. To infinitive verbs. All right? And you can use it as a noun. So, to live is you can make a sentence with that. To live in Nigeria these days is difficult. It's not easy. To live in Nigeria these days is not easy. To survive in Nigeria these days is not easy. That to survive is to infinitive verb. But as you use it in that sentence, it becomes a subject of the sentence. It's no longer a verb. To survive in Nigeria is not easy these days. That to survive is to infinity. It's an example of a non-finite verb. But as it is used in that sentence, it is a noun. It's the subject of the sentence. To survive in Nigeria or to live in Nigeria these days is not easy. It can also come within the middle of the sentence. It's not easy to survive in Nigeria these days. It must not be from the beginning. And then you have gerunds. Gerunds are verb nouns. 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 They are verbs, but they are used as nouns in an expression. You form gerunds by combining. You form gerunds by adding ing to a main verb. You form gerunds by adding ing to a main verb. You form gerunds by adding ing to a main verb. So take any verb of your choice and then add ing. Okay? You can use that verb as a noun. I like using the word smoke. Smoke. Then you now have smoking. All right? You can say smoking is dangerous to health. Smoking is dangerous to health. In that case, smoking is a verb, but it's being used as a noun in that sentence. So you could see that the structure that it occupies in that sentence is a nominal structure, the structure of a noun. It's different from I am smoking. That would be a verb. But smoking is dangerous to health is a noun. It's a gerund because it is a noun, it's a verb, but it's used as a noun. That's another example of non-finite verb. Okay? So much for verbs. So much for verbs. Let us move on to complements. 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 Complement. Complement is spelled C-O-M-P-L-E. L-E. Not L-I. L-E. Because it is to complete, not to greet. L-I will be to greet. Complement with I will be to greet. All right? Complements of the season. But complements here is to complete. All right? So the complement can be a noun, a nominal, or an adjectival. An adjective or adjectival. It completes the sense about a noun. Complete the idea about a noun. The complement completes the idea about a noun. The complement completes an idea about a noun. All right? You have subject complements and object complements. The subject complement completes the idea about a subject, whereas the object complement completes the idea about an object. I'll give you some examples. Number one. Peter is my brother. Peter is my brother. Edith is a good boy. Edith is a good boy. Three. The chairman appointed Edith a supervisor. The chairman appointed Edith a supervisor. The chairman appointed Edith a supervisor. What was sentence one? Peter is my brother. Peter is my brother. Now, the subject of the expression is Peter. The verb is what? Is. So my brother refers to Peter, right? My brother refers to Peter, right? So Peter is the complement of, my brother is the complement of Peter, the subject, and because Peter is subject, then my brother is subject complement. My brother is subject complement. Subject complement. This is how you write subject complement. Subject complement. Subject complement. Subject complement. Capital letter C and small letter S. Subject complement. So my brother is a complement to Peter. It completes the idea about Peter. All right? Note that complements usually come after the linking verb. Complements usually come after linking verbs. Like is, are, was, were. They are linking verbs. So you could see that my brother is the same person as Peter. So my brother completes the idea that was begun about Peter. And you represented that like that. Sentence 2 is what? That is a good boy. So the same thing there. Edit and a good boy are one and the same thing. So a good boy is the subject complement to edit. Right? Right? I didn't get you. Edit is a good boy. A good boy is the subject complement to edit. Even if you say Edith is handsome, in that case the complement is an adjective, handsome, referring to Edith. Right? Then the third one is what? The chairman appointed Edith's supervisor. So the chairman is the subject. Right? The chairman is the subject. The verb is what? Appointed. Then the object is what? Edit. Then the supervisor is object complement. The supervisor is object complement because the supervisor is the same person as Edit. But because Edit is the object now, so the supervisor is object complement. Alright? To Edit. Edit is no more the subject. Edit is now object. So that complement is object complement. That supervisor is complement in that expression, but it's object complement. You represent it as CO. CO. As CO. Let's talk about object. Let's talk about object. The object is that which is affected by the action initiated by the subject. The object is that which is affected by the action initiated by the subject. The action in the verb usually affects the object. The action in the verb usually affects the object. For instance, Ronaldo kicked the ball. Ronaldo kicked the ball. Ronaldo kicked the ball. Ronaldo kicked the ball. Number 2. Inspector Okoro slapped Salami. Inspector Okoro slapped Mrs. Salami. Inspector Okoro slapped Mrs. Salami. The first one was what? Ronaldo kicked the ball. 2. Inspector Okoro slapped Mrs. Salami. So in the first sentence, Inspector Okoro is the subject. Oh, in the first sentence, Ronaldo is the subject, right? Ronaldo is the subject. Kicked is the verb. And the ball is the object. The ball is the object. The ball receives the action of the kick. So when you want to check the object, you want to know the object, ask yourself which or who is affected by the action. Because the object is always affected by the action. So the action of kicking affects the ball. So the ball is the object. Alright? Then the second sentence, Inspector Okoro is the subject. Slapped is the verb. And then who was slapped? Mrs. Salami. So Mrs. Salami is the object of the verb slapped. Okay? Inspector Okoro slapped Mrs. Salami. The subject is Inspector Okoro. Slapped is the verb. And the object of the verb is Mrs. Salami. We have 2 types of objects. We have 2 types of objects. We have 2 types of objects. We have direct objects and indirect objects. We have direct objects and indirect objects. We have direct objects and indirect objects. So the direct object is directly affected by the action in the sentence. The direct object is directly affected by the action in the sentence. The indirect object is indirectly affected by the action in the sentence. The two examples that we've given are direct objects because the kick directly affects the ball and the slap directly affects Mrs. Salami. Now I'm going to give a sentence that will illustrate indirect objects. Peter bought his mother a new car. 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 The subject of the sentence is Peter. Peter bought his mother a new car. Write that down. We want to illustrate direct and indirect object. We want to illustrate direct and indirect object, right? So write down, Peter bought his mother a new car. Have you done that? Now the subject of the sentence is Peter, right? The verb is bought. Then we have his mother as one of the objects, a new car as another object. All right? We have his mother as object, a new car as object. Now we want to determine which one is a direct object and which one is a indirect object. Remember that the direct object is directly affected by the action of the verb. Indirect object is indirectly affected by the action of the verb. Right? Good. So to know the direct object, you look at the verb bought and ask yourself, what was bought? What was bought? A new car. So that's the direct object because the action of buying directly affected the car. Now, this action of buying indirectly affected the mother. All right? So the mother is the indirect object, whereas the car is a direct object. Please take note of that. The action of buying, what was bought? The car. So the car is the direct object. But the car was bought for the mother. So the buying indirectly affects the mother. So the mother is indirect object. So this is how you represent them. Which one is capital letter O and small letter D is direct object. Capital letter O and small letter I is indirect object. Let us take another example. Let us take another example. And this one you will determine it yourself. Harriet sang his father a Christmas carol. 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 Harriet sang Okay, true. Arit sang her father, right? Arit sang her father a Christmas carol. Arit sang her father a Christmas carol. Okay. So which one is the direct object and which one is the direct? Somebody should stand up and teach us. You? What's your name? Eh? What's your name, Oga? Eh? So I didn't get it. So I didn't get your name. Okay, don't worry, go on. What's your surname? Good luck. Good luck. I still can't get. Don't worry, go on. Okay, that's correct. Because of the verb sang, right? The verb will help you to know which one is the direct object, right? So what was sung was the Christmas carol, and then it indirectly affected the father. All right. Now we are left with adjunct. Either you call it adjunct or you call it adverbial. Either you call it adjunct or you call it adverbial. Adjunct or adverbial. Adjunct or adverbial. All the course reps should take down attendance for each of their departments. So they perform the adjuncts are adverbs, and adverbs modify verbs in terms of time, manner, and other aspects. Okay, so you have adverbs of time, like yesterday, today, forever. Adverbs of manner, like slowly, quickly. So those are adjuncts. Adjuncts are adverbs, right? And adverbs modify verbs or give more information about verbs. So like I said, we have adverbs of time, like yesterday, today, now, then, manner, slowly, quickly, okay? And so on and so forth. So, let us use these elements to construct a sentence. That will bring the class to an end. Let us use these elements to construct a sentence. Let us begin with verb. The compulsory element of the sentence is the verb. So you can use a verb to construct a sentence. So you just write there V, and under it you can write go, but you must add exclamation sign. Go, run, fight. I think that should be enough. Then the next one you should write is SV. 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 Under it you can have Jesus wept. Jesus wept. Jesus wept. You can have he laughed. He laughed. He laughed. You can make many sentences from that. Okay? Then the next one is SVO. 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 Ronaldo kicked the ball. Ronaldo kicked the ball is SVO. That means subject, verb, object. Ronaldo kicked the ball. You can add other examples. Okon knocked Peter. Okay? Okon knocked Peter. Okon knocked Peter. Then you can have SVA. 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 Subject, verb, adjunct. She cried yesterday. She cried yesterday. She ran quickly. She ran quickly. You know how to label each of the sentences. Subject, verb, adjunct. Then you can have subject, verb, object, adjunct. SVOA. 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 Ronaldo scored a goal last Sunday. Ronaldo scored a goal last Sunday. Ronaldo is the subject, scored is the verb, a goal is the object, and last Sunday is the adjunct. You can label the sentence very well. Then you can have SVC. SVC. Somebody should go with an example for SVC. SVC. That's subject, verb, complement. Sorry? Peter is my brother. Alice is beautiful. Alice is beautiful. Right? Alice is beautiful. Okon is honest. Okon is honest. Okon is honest. Okon is honest. Right? SVOCA. 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 The governor appointed John a commissioner last week. The governor appointed John a commissioner last week. Or the governor made John a commissioner last week. That should be a good example. So you can generate as many. You can have, okay, let's try this one. A dash, A dash, S, V, O. Who can try that? A dash, S, V, O. Who can try that? No one? Huh? I think so. So you can have yesterday, Yesterday, Peter cooked rice. Yesterday, Peter cooked rice. Yesterday, Peter cooked rice. Where yesterday is the adjunct, then S is Peter, then V is cooked, then rice is the object. Okay? All right, so this is where we have to end the class for today. When we meet next week, we will take sentence types, and then we move on to writing. Good morning, students.